So today we're going to look at graphing inequalities with two variables. Up to this point in this unit, we've been graphing inequalities with one variable. Our objective is to graph linear inequalities and systems of linear equalities. We're going to look at just the first half today, which is lesson 10.7. We'll graph systems next time. It says the graph of the linear equation y equals x plus 3 separates the coordinate plane into three sets. Okay, the points on the line. Okay, so in highlighter, this is one of the sets that this graph is separated into. That's the point on the line. The point above the line, which is the darker shading I have here, that's the other set of points. And then there are the points below the line, which is the lighter shading I did. That's the three sets of points. The regions above and below the line are called open half planes, and the line is the boundary of each half plane. The line that is graphed is your boundary line. If you start at any point on the line, say P equals 2, 5, and move upward from P, the y-coordinate increases. If you move downward from P, the y-coordinate decreases. Thus, the upper half of the open half plane is the graph y equals x plus 3. All right, so we're saying that of the upper is the graph y is greater than x plus 3, not equals. Okay, the lower half plane is y is less than x plus 3. The graphs of blank completely cover the coordinate plane. Well, the graphs of what is greater, the graph of the line, which is the equation, and the graph of where the y values get smaller, which is less than. Okay. When the boundary line is included with an open half plane, it is called a closed half plane. The graphs of the inequalities are shown by shading. If the boundary line is part of the graph, it is drawn as a solid line. That's really important to know. If the boundary line is part of the graph, it's drawn as a solid line. If the boundary line is not part of the graph, it is a dashed line. Well, how do we know that? We know it by the inequality symbol. In A, we have y is greater than x plus 3. This boundary line is not included. It's a dashed line. How do we know? Because there's not an equal to with the greater than symbol. It is just greater than. So any solutions on that line are not they're not included. It's just what you shade. However, in B, we have y is greater than or equal to x plus 3. Having the equal to symbol under the greater than tells us that the points on that line will be included in the solution. Likewise, we have in C, y is less than x plus 3. Does not have an equal with our less than symbol, so it's everything below the line, but the points on the line are not included. And then in D, y is less than or equal to x plus 3. It does include the points on the line. They are solutions because it has the equal to with it. Okay, let's go to the next page. Steps for graphing linear inequalities. First, you're going to transform the given inequality into an equivalent inequality that has y alone on one side. Then you're going to graph the equation of the boundary. Use a solid line if the symbol is greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. Use a dashed if it is greater than or less than. Then you're going to shade the region. If you have y is less than or equal to, shade below the line. If you have y is greater than or equal to, shade above the line. So practice. When we graph y is greater than 4, it is in your mind, you're saying, okay, how do I graph just the line? Well, just the lines when we had an equal. So if it's easier for you to change it for the purposes of graphing the linear equation or inequality, go ahead and put an equal to there. If you can just imagine it being there, then do that. So y equals 4 means it's going to go through the y-axis at 4. And that's going to be a horizontal line. So is it going to be solid or dotted? And it's going to be dotted, and we know that because there is no equal to with our greater than. Okay, so we make a dotted line. Then from there we shade. How do we know to shade? Well, it says y is greater. Where are the values greater? They're greater above the line. So this is going to be very similar to when we graphed linear equations, except when we graphed just an equation, it was all the solutions on the line that made it true. In this case, it could be all the solutions on the line plus whatever's greater or less than that. Okay, y is less than or equal to 2x minus 1. Again, you think of this as an equation to graph the line. So that means the slope is 2 and the intercept is -1. I start at -1 on my y-axis. I go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And you can do that a couple times. You can go down 2 and left 1. Okay. This is going to be a solid line. We know that because it's less than or equal to. And we graph our line. Okay, this said y is less than 2x minus 1. So remember that example we did? Are the y values getting bigger or smaller as we go down? Well, they're getting smaller. So where do you shade when it's less than? You're going to shade over to this side right here. And again, because it's a solid line, all the solutions on the line make that inequality true as well. Okay, let's try number 3. 2x minus y is less than or equal to 2. Again, if you like to change that into an equation, I'm going to write it below the graph just so we have a little more room. To do that, I would just make that an equal sign, and then I'm going to subtract 2x, and I'm going to divide by -1. So my equation is y equals 2x plus 2. All right, so I'm going to start at 2 on my y-axis, and then from there, that's my y-intercept, I'm going up to right 1. I can go down to left 1. And this is a solid line again because it's equal to with the inequality. Okay. I draw my line. And when I do that, remember this inequality symbol can also be your or your equal to symbol is also your inequality symbol. So again, now we have this symbol would reverse though, remember, because we divided by a negative. So really now we're looking at where it would become greater than. Where are the y values greater? And if you pick a point on here and you go up, the y values are getting greater. If you pick a point and go down, they're becoming less than. So let me go back and talk about when I solved this, because I had an equal to as an equation. I didn't explain to you that you do have to be careful. So it may be better for you all just to leave this as the symbol that it was to start with and solve it, and then just switch your inequality. Otherwise, it's going to mess you up. And remember, when you divide by a negative, you have to switch your sign. So going forward, I'll just leave the inequality symbol in there. Okay, number 4, x plus 2y is greater than 6. I'm going to leave the inequality symbol, but I'm going to solve in terms of y. So I get 2y is greater than negative x plus 6. I'm going to divide by 2. I'm going to get y is greater than negative 1/2 x plus 3. My slope is negative 1/2. My intercept is 3. Okay, so I go up 1, 2, 3. This is going to be a dotted line because it's just greater than. And from there, I'm going to go down 1 over 2. I can go up 1 over 2. And I'm going to make my line. Okay. Now, where were we at? Y is greater. Well, where are the values of Y going to be greater? As I go up, my Y values are going to be greater. And we shape. And you shape. Good. Okay, let's see what we have on the next page. All right, so we have one more little part to go through. We're going to stop at before systems of linear inequalities so that we can do that in the next lesson. It says, write an inequality for the graph at the right. Find the slope and y-intercept, write the equation. That's what number 1 says. Okay, so where is it crossing the y-axis? It looks like it's crossing the y-axis at 2. So we know that y equals 2. Okay. As far as finding the slope, you can rise and run. Probably is best to find your slope. So it looks like we're going to be going down 1, 2. Going down is negative, and moving 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. And that can simplify to a positive 1/2. So your slope is 1/2. Dashed or solid, the line is dashed. So that means it's either going to be greater or less than. And did we shade above or below? If you can't tell the shading, just because of the way it printed, this is the area that's shaded. It's shaded above. So now we're going to write the inequality. And this is not y equals 2. This is b. That's my intercept is b, not my y. Okay, so now we have y. The values are greater. They're getting bigger above 1/2 x plus 2. Okay, now there's 3 that you can, we'll do them together, or you can try them on your own and then come back on and see if you got them right. Okay, so let's see. This looks like it is a horizontal line. And because the line's so light, we're going to call it dotted. It's really hard to tell, but I can tell in the second 2 examples that those are definitely solid. So we're going to go with this dotted. And it's going through at y equals 2, right? But we see the shading is above, so that's going to be greater. And so we have y is greater than 2. And that's your inequality. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next one is a solid line, so it's going to be greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. And it's hitting the b's a 2. If I go down 2 and left 2 for my slope, that tells me that my slope is positive 1. So I have y, and it looks like the y values are decreasing, so it's less than or equal to 1x or x plus 2. Easy. Okay, we have one more to do. And number 3, we also have a solid line, so it's going to be greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. It's hitting the y-axis at 4. Again, to find my slope, I can go from point to point. So I can go down 4 and right 4. Down means negative, right means positive. So that means that I have a slope of negative 1. And it looks like as my points are going, as I go down on here, I'm getting smaller. So this is y is less than or equal to negative x plus 4. Okay, that's all there is for today's lesson. I think you'll find it pretty easy. The most confusing part is just the dotted or solid line and making sure you're shading correctly. I'm going to post some blank coordinate planes on the class notes for Unit 10 under topics, the topic folder, the class notes, so that you have some blank ones to print off. And I'll also have your assignment posted for homework as well. If you have any questions, as always, just reach out to me by messaging, and I'd be happy to help you through video chatting on our team's account. All right, have a good day. Bye.